welcome. My name is Anna Katarina, and I'm very interested in knowing and learning about consciousness. What are those inner qualities that we all share, that we all have in common, and how can we foster them? I'm also interested in global cooperation and a sense of global understanding. I am a student at the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University, which has 1,800 centers in about 64 different countries. It teaches Raja Yoga to people from different backgrounds, different faiths and religions and cultures all around the world. Raja Yoga is about cultivating these inner powers like patience, tolerance, discernment, inner qualities like serenity, peacefulness, love, stillness, flexibility. Raja Yoga helps us to develop our powers of concentration, of positive thinking. It is an education in our inner selves. It helps us to develop our ethical values, our healthy attitudes, and how we can really apply them in our daily life. The program today will focus on how important, how valuable, how useful it is to meditate, and the exact nature of Raja Yoga meditation and how it differs from other forms of meditation. With me today is Sister Denise, who is the director of the Los Angeles branch of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. Welcome.
Thank you.
And hello. Could you tell us a little bit about your university and what you teach?
Yes, I will. The Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University is a place where you study things that are about the spirit, that is, about the soul, about soul consciousness, and about the laws of spirituality. And along with this body of knowledge that we work with, there is the technique of meditation, which we call Raja Yoga. And Raja Yoga is very, very subtle. It is a kind of mental concentration and remembrance, and it's also an internal journey. In a sense, it's an art because you are really working at the most deep level on your own soul, within your own self, and the expression of that in your practical everyday life. So there are many levels on which a person can do it, and you can just come along for meditation at the center whenever you feel like it, or you can really go into the depths of it and become a very proficient meditator. So we provide for the whole spectrum of people's needs in that area.
How do you meditate? How is it different from other forms of meditation?
Well, many kinds of meditation that exist are exercises for concentration. And the power of concentration is very necessary in meditation, but it's for something else. So we wouldn't really make concentration an end in itself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The end, the real purpose and aim of meditation, of Raja Yoga, is to become totally aware of yourself as a soul, completely self-realized, and to be able to have an actual communication and contact with the Supreme Soul, the Source, the higher power, God, and to be able to develop that relationship and all that implies. So that's really the aim of Raja Yoga. Many forms of meditation that exist are not going to take it to that point. Sometimes people will meditate so that they can get certain powers alongside the power of concentration, but there are other powers that you can get. Sometimes people will meditate so that they can, walk on fire, or so that they can learn better, or these kinds of things. But what we try to do is really get into it at its pure spiritual level. Yeah.
So you learn about you and your union with God.
Exactly, yeah. And of course, it really doesn't make any difference what your spiritual and cultural background is, because for a person to be self-realized and really feel the essence of their own soul and really have a close relationship with God is the aim and purpose of almost all the major spiritual and religious traditions in the world. So it's very much something that is useful for anyone who wants to develop that side of their tradition.
And they all can relate to, because probably the origin of different religions was originally that, and then
there are many things that link the different religions, yes.
Can children do this sort of Raja Yoga meditation?
It's an interesting thing. I would say that small children really can't, because as a person moves through life and they get into their adulthood, the level of thinking and conceptualizing abstract things and going into a very deep inner space, this is an adult type of activity. What children can do is they can enjoy the idea of practicing being peaceful and practicing being loving and practicing being gentle and happy and really developing character and the divine virtues and qualities. So at that level, children can benefit from it enormously. But the level that that is real Raj Yoga, that's an adult thing.
Because you have to make some experiences of observing yourself as you go through life.
It's very subtle.
Yeah.
It's very subtle. And I've been doing this kind of meditation for nearly 20 years. And I find that as time goes by, the kind of subtlety of thinking and life experience and so on is a very important part of your spiritual progress. So yes, it's good. It gets better as you go on in life.
Maybe for some people to know, do you use anything? Do you need a picture, or do you need an object to meditate, or?
Well, you really don't, but at the same time, when you want to do something that's very subtle, you're so used to, if somebody says, okay, you must concentrate, then you say, okay, what shall I concentrate on? And for you to be able to develop within your mind the idea of that which is so subtle that you can't make a picture of it, that's sometimes a little difficult for people. So very often we will say, okay, the form of the soul, the form of the Supreme Soul is a point of light. And so if you have a representation of a form of a point of light or a little star or something like that, then at least that will help to put your eyes somewhere, because we do practice open-eyed meditation. But the thing is that your meditation is really deep thought and evocation of the nature and qualities of the soul. And then sinking yourself into a stage of connectedness with the Supreme Being. And this is something that is really outside what representations can do. And there are some spiritual traditions which give a lot of importance to icons and symbols. And then there are other traditions which say, no, you know, you're dealing with something very subtle, and spirit is different from matter, so therefore you need to be away from symbols because they bring you into a consciousness of matter, and they're right. But at the same time, very often it's just very difficult for people to work with that. So sometimes to use something to represent that is useful, but never to become dependent on it, never to think that that is what
that,
it represents.
to go beyond very quickly.
Yes.
What do you say is the benefit of open eyes in comparison to closed eyes meditation?
Good point. When a lot of people, when they pray or they meditate, they automatically feel that, well, okay, if I want to go inside, then I should close my eyes. But the problem with that is then you need to be in a spiritual sanctuary or in your own home or a place where no one will disturb you. And the advantage of the open-eyed method is that you learn very easily how to exist very much in connection with the real world and all of the things that you have to do in it, your responsibilities and so on, but at the same time to dedicate a part of your consciousness to developing an awareness of that which is sublime, that which is subtle, that which is spiritual. So that allows you to meditate while you are engaged in routine activities. You can meditate while you're in the grocery line, while you're waiting in line at the bank. You can meditate in your car because you're right there with the activity of driving that you have to do. And especially in a lot of the big cities, people spend a lot of time commuting. And that's very good thinking time. And a very important part of meditation is to take up concepts of spirituality in your mind and think them through, you see, because we do have a lot of times when we are free to think, and so we can use them.
And I'm sure it gives you a sense of freedom that you're not conditioned to a time and a place, and I'm sure everyone has a yearning to be able to do that no matter when, no matter where, no matter what.
Although it's important to, if you want to become a good meditator, you need to create a discipline of times. And we always tell people, okay, first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, don't just fly right into the day because it's too much, but take some time, sit with yourself, get into meditation, nurture yourself at the beginning of the day, and then that will be with you through the day. And stop every so often at times and have a little meditation, and then don't go to sleep at night with the day zooming around in your head, but sit quiet and set it down and look through, review your day, evaluate what you've learned, if you made any mistakes, if you did something that you regret, really take care of it, and then you get an easy sleep. Otherwise, your sleep is disturbed, you're not refreshed, next day you can't meditate so well.
You schlep the old bag into the next day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So the time that you said that you do in any case for meditations in the morning and in the evening, how long would you recommend?
Well, of course, again, it varies with the individual, but I suppose half an hour to an hour when you're in your fixed times of meditation is very useful. There are times when you can take a long period, a long meditation, or even sometimes if you go out for a country walk and just, you know, for 2 or 3 hours you're meditating, that's very good because you can go deeper. And sometimes it's very necessary for an individual to really sit with themselves introspectively and go into the depth of it and see what kinds of things comes up. Because when you want to think in a purely spiritual way, what you'll encounter is obstacles and resistance from your own mind, you see, and distractions. And so part of the work of a meditator is to be able to see, okay, what are my distractions, what are my obsessions, what are the things that I think of that are not really productive for me, and really work on setting those aside so that your mind is getting clearer and clearer, and you can tell the difference when you're thinking well and when you're being unreasonable with yourself or too hard on yourself, or you're imagining something. And of course what happens when you do that is you develop a very good sense of what's real. And you get a very good power of discernment and judgment so that you can make good decisions. And very often in life you have to make decisions that are difficult to make. So if you're practiced in meditating, then you have the capacity and the wherewithal with yourself to be able to say, okay, let's see what we have to do here, and just move away from all the other influences and make your decision, and then you can stand by it. And so that's a very powerful place to be coming from in life, and it's good for a person to have that.
And it's probably when you reach a point where you can also begin to see the effect meditation has on you, when you see the progress you make, because I'm sure sometimes it's hard to know and to calculate this, how it affects you, in what way, and how it changes you. But what you just described gives us a hint of that.
Yes. This is another thing. If you really want to see progress in yourself, then you need to be systematic about your meditation. You need to do it every day, because otherwise, if you do it in a scattered way, then okay, you'll make good progress one day and you'll fill yourself up with the qualities and powers of meditation, but then you'll use that up and it's like you're always starting again from square one, so you don't have a sense of progress. And so therefore it's, you know, in our centers we really teach people and give them the tools how to develop a pace, and different people have different paces. If somebody wants to meditate too fast and too long, they won't be able to keep it up. And if somebody says, oh, I can't do any meditation, then they need a little encouragement to create a pace that they can manage, so that there is a very tangible effect. And then you also see that there is change in your behavior, because meditation is very subtle. It's difficult to change your own personal habit patterns, and one of the things that meditation is especially good for is when you get really clear and really subtle and really silent. You can see what you are and who you are very clearly, and because of becoming so still and so silent and so clear, the effect is that you can make change. And there is a very tangible alteration that happens within yourself. Otherwise, people say, oh, I wish I was more disciplined, or I wish I didn't fly off the handle, but I can't do anything about it. And with meditation, if you decide that you want to develop yourself, your character in certain ways, you will succeed in it, guaranteed. You know? So this is very beneficial. Yeah.
How important is spiritual knowledge, spiritual education for meditation?
For RAJYOGA meditation, we think that spiritual education is very necessary.
Which you teach a great deal.
Yeah, we do. Because, okay, in meditation it will be said, all right, think of your soul. And then someone will say, well, how do I think of my soul? What is my soul? How do I know it's like this? How do I visualize it? So there are many, many questions that people have. People will ask, well, okay, where do I come from? Where am I going to? What is my life for? You know, these are the kinds of questions that come up in a person's mind. And so the spiritual knowledge that we work with addresses these questions and talks about how you can do that, why it is appropriate to think of yourself as a soul, and to think of yourself as spiritual, contained within a material body, so that you have a sense of yourself as being very, very subtle. And you really feel that, yes, I am the subtle being within this physical form, and I am doing what I am doing because I have decided to do it. And then whatever are the external influences that try to make you do something, so you're able to separate yourself from those and to do what it is that is coming from your essence. So you need information.
You do, because otherwise you're left in a general feeling. You feel a little good, but you don't know why. And you have to be able to pinpoint
Right.
Why?
I mean, there are some people, they just like to feel the peace, and they like to feel the happiness, and they like to feel those feelings. And this is good. But after a while, a person wants to bring things onto a more conceptualized level.
Steady level.
Yeah.
How can you really meditate a lot and yet live in daily life in a big city? There's no conflict, therefore, because of things you've just explained. You know, people sometimes wonder what that does to you.
Sometimes there are ideas about meditation which say that, oh, well, if you meditate, then you have to be separate from the world. But in Raj Yoga, you'll find that almost all of our centers are right in the heart of the cities, so that people can actually come and spend some time at the center, have a meditation, have a class on their way to and from work. And so what we suggest to people is that the purpose of developing yourself spiritually and the purpose of becoming a good meditator is so that your life, your family, your relationships, your professional qualifications and so on, all of these are enhanced by your spiritual practice, and you never become victimized by these things. Otherwise, people have a lot of stresses in life, and they get very, very attached to and caught up in their world, which kind of engulfs them. And we need a way to free ourselves up from that, so that we can have some kind of good perspective on those things.
So there's no such thing really, as some people say, can you meditate too much? Is it bad to meditate too much? But the way Raja Yoga understands meditation, there is no such thing.
Right, exactly. In Raja Yoga, you cannot get away with isolating yourself from real life, because sooner or later this is going to be brought to your attention. And there are some people who try to escape from their responsibilities. And what Raja Yoga says is, really use your spiritual understanding to be able to handle your responsibilities. Sometimes people, they get overwhelmed. They have debts, they have kids, they have pressures at work, and they just want to get out. And Raja Yoga says, okay, we understand, we appreciate, it's all getting too much, but strengthen yourself and recognize that all of these things are here to teach you, they're here to help you develop, and take some spiritual nourishment and go back in there and deal with it, and you will find that you can handle things that you think that you really can't. So really, I don't personally feel that you can hurt yourself by meditating too much.
Yeah, it's probably only meditating when the whole life becomes that, only then there's a chance for change.
Well, why are we alive? We want to develop ourselves. We want to make our lives significant and worthwhile at a number of levels. So meditation helps us to have things going on at those different levels.
Thank you so much. Now, to come to an end, Sister Denise will lead us through a guided meditation. If you have any questions and would like to learn more about these free classes and programs, please call the number that you will see at the end of this program. But before that, we'll have a guided meditation. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us.
In meditation, I want to go deep inside my being, using the power of thought. Using my mind, I establish myself in the consciousness of being the subtle, tiny point of light that is the soul. feel the difference between myself, the invisible, intangible, conscious being, and this material body that is my instrument of action. And for just a while, it becomes possible for me to turn my mind totally away from the external world and I go into an inner place of silence and light. I do not feel obligated or distracted by external things, but I'm concentrated deep within. And just by a single thought, I can move myself beyond and feel the reality of my relationship with a higher power. Feeling myself in close connection, nurtured and sustained by that power. Om Shanti.